Welcome in. Latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Breton. Go by SEC Mike on the Twitters here. Flying solo. Don't tune off. Please don't turn off. No Cousin Shane. Cousin Shane's at the casino right now, spending his hard-earned money thanks to my bookie. Shout out, presenting sponsor of the show. But no, I didn't want to go a day without giving you guys a show. We were supposed to have a guest. He backed out last minute. He is going to be on tomorrow, he says. So, yes, this is going to be weird. We're going to have a show, I think around 10:30 Central, 11:30 Eastern. I can't even tell you a damn time because this guy won't tell me. But it will be fun, I promise you. It's going to be unique. It's going to be, it's not often we get a live guest on the show, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But no Cousin Shane, like I said. But we do have a Cousin Shane clip here. We've been trying to figure out ways to have some fun during the off season. So you let me know. This is the idea. We've seen other people put out videos like this. And I said, well, how about you start doing videos like this, buddy? And I was dying laughing. So this is an example of the kind of content I'm trying to push Cousin Shane to do more of in the off season. I'm going to play it. It's a couple seconds long. And in the comments, you let me know if you want to see more of Cousin Shane doing stuff like this.
This may be the dumbest fucking list I've seen this year. And I've seen some fucking lists, man.
So shout out Cousin Shane. We got him on here. We got an appearance from Cousin Shane. I'm going to try to keep up with all the comments too. I mean, this is hard when I don't have the Homer here going at it. But, oh, buddy. Yeah, what have I got here? Have you seen this? This is what we're going to do. We're going to be doing a lot of clips here. Georgia Congressman Mike Collins, after Georgia beat Texas in the SEC championship game, he says, can we kick Texas back to the damn Big 12?
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to demand that Texas be sent back to the Big 12 and to congratulate the 2024 SEC champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. After the Dogs' historic win over the Longhorns, the SEC's championships over the weekend, which, by the way, was the second time Georgia has beat Texas this season, the Dogs have proved without a doubt that Texas just ain't ready for SEC ball. What an incredible win, Mr.
I'm not going to play the whole damn thing, but what a country we live in. What a time where we got these congressmen wasting people's time celebrating Georgia's victory. That is hilarious. So if it was my team, I would be celebrating that clip. So I just thought that was hilarious. Michael Riley, which team has been hurt most by the portal? It's interesting you say that because that's right where we're going to go next. Arkansas, I think, is the answer to that. Oh, wait, one other clip. This is one Shane really wanted me to play. A little bit of a longer one, but this is Colorado State head coach Jay Norvell. And you said, what? Why the hell do we care what Colorado State Norvell's got to say? Well, because you're going to hear the same things in a minute from Sam Pittman. But this is what these coaches are dealing with and why something needs to be done. I wish I had the answers, but something's got to change with this portal.
Because a lot of kids are making bad decisions. And, and I'll just throw this out here for understanding. I always take these opportunities as a way to educate people on what's going on. But what's happening is that, you have these independent agents. And these independent agents call these schools up that they know have money. And they say, what if Kevin gets in the portal? How much would you pay him? Oh, I'll pay him $150,000. And they'll go to the next school. What if Kevin got in the portal? What would you pay him? Oh, I'd give him $175. And then another school might say, I'll give him $200. So now this independent agent DMs Kevin and says, call me, I got some deals for you. And then they talk, and he goes, if you get in the portal, I can get you $200,000. Okay? And it's hard for a kid, when he hears that. And so these kids are not thinking about getting in the portal, but when they have these people call them and say, hey, if you get in the portal, I'll give you $200,000. And by the way, I'm going to take 15, 20% of that. And so these guys are just stealing from these kids. An NFLPA agent gets 3%. A lot of these agents that are talking to all of our players, they're taking 10, 15, 20%. And that's really criminal, really. But that's what's going on in college football. And as much as we try to tell our players that and educate them, when somebody's offering you that kind of money, it's still hard for these kids, okay? And so, that just kind of gives you an idea what's happening, and it's unfortunate. And like I said, we talked to our top 26 kids. They all have been offered.
Probably by SEC schools, if they're any good. But I appreciate this question or comment from Duddy Price here. That's what agents do. That's their job. Yes or no? Like he's saying, agents are only supposed to take a small percentage. And these guys, some are 10, 20%. I mean, that is criminal. And another thing, you could call, it doesn't matter who let's say Arkansas. You call Arkansas and say, I'm the agent for Luke Haas. There's no test you got to pass. There's no credentials you just say, I'm an agent. That's not how it works in professional sports. That's not how it works in the NFL. You have to be certified. You're somebody's uncle. You're somebody's, high school coach. You're their agent. It's like a wild, wild west out here. So that's why, and we've said it, why is it that Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Kentucky, why do they have more guys in the portal out of the SEC right now than anybody? Because they don't have the money. And if things were different, if they were as hot as South Carolina, if they were as hot as Florida, they saved their money from buying out Billy and had money to spend on players. You're not seeing as many players. But Lane Kiffin has said this, and Sam Pittman's about to say it right here too, that what these programs are doing is they're going to evaluate their overall rosters, evaluate the individual players, and I'll just throw Luke Haas out there. Again, let's just use him as an example because he's leaving Arkansas, and apparently LSU, Ole Miss, all these others are after him. And I'm just completely spitballing here on the figures. I have no idea what Luke Haas may get paid. But let's say Arkansas was willing to give him $150,000. He may have an agent out here that says LSU and Ole Miss will give you $200,000, $250,000. So that's why these guys are leaving. And Arkansas says, well, we just went 6-6 with you. We don't think you're worth $200,000, $250,000, whatever. So that's what's going on right now. And that's exactly what Sam Pittman said when he was asked, why you got all these guys in the damn portal? And he says, well, we have made the decision to go heavy in the portal, but we got to spend wisely. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to put together a quality team.
Just for starters, can you tell us about the roster transition? You had a bunch of guys, and then you've been losing some in the portal too. What that's been like for the last week?
Well, it's been a lot of decision making. The portal comes two different ways. It comes by guys wanting to explore opportunities to go play somewhere where maybe they're not able to play here. There's the first one. The other one is financially. Obviously, they want to explore what their opportunities may be somewhere else financially. And then us as a staff, we've got to make all those decisions on whether the financial asking price is what we determine the value of the player is. And if it is, then we try to keep them here. If it's not, then obviously we wish them well. And if it's strictly about the financial piece, then we know at that point we'd be out of it. I do want to be very specific here. We have money. Our donors have been very good financially to us. Revenue sharing coming up here in July. We have money. It's we're not losing these kids because we don't have money. We're losing them because what our value is per to what maybe they can get elsewhere has been at times substantially different. We were a 6-6 football team, and we've got money, and so we need to use it wisely. We have 29 visits already set up coming out of the portal. What's hard, I think, probably on the fan base is that we know more about who's in the portal than probably anybody does. The availability of us getting them. And so basically it comes down to those two things, Tom. And if we weren't able to match what the number was out there nationally for somebody, then we were saying, hey, we believe that we can go get somebody as good or somebody or two somebodies for that amount of money.
Hey, shout out to Denim Chicken Rebel. Welcome to the family. We appreciate you, brother. But again, yeah, so Sam Pittman said it right there. And if you missed it, I also wanted to make note of this. So Talon Green, or Talon, depending on who you listen to, Talon Green's coming back for another year. He's announced that today, a little while before I hopped on here. So what does that tell you? Arkansas values their quarterback and his asking price. And apparently, there is some speculation that these quarterbacks getting in the portal right now, and there's no elite quarterbacks, I don't think, in the portal. I think there's some very good quarterbacks, but there's no Cam Ward that turned Miami into a fringe playoff team. There's no Jaden Daniels. Of course, he wasn't quite Jaden Daniels when he jumped in the portal, but he was very coveted. But there's not that guy in there. But apparently some of these quarterbacks in the portal are asking for $3 and $4 million for 1 year. So I'm not saying that's what Talon Green is asking, but you'd have to be naive to not think that he's asking for a lot. And I think Arkansas understands you can't win without a quarterback. We got Bobby Petrino, year 2 with the same quarterback. We can do some big things. But that's probably a big reason why they are losing a lot of. And what did Sam Pittman just say there? We have money. We have to spend it wisely. And throwing a bunch of money at a quarterback, that may be deemed wisely. Would you rather have a quarterback? I know Talon Green was not elite. At times he looked it, but without a quarterback, you got nothing. Add all these guys they lost, and they haven't lost anybody that's massively important. But would you rather have all those pieces and not have a quarterback, or would you rather have a quarterback and find some pieces to fill around them? That's what we're dealing with, I think, if we're Arkansas. So, hey, JR, what a legend. He's in here. Cousin Shane don't even show up, but JR does. We appreciate you, brother. Mike Bridges, welcome to the family. You just got gifted a membership from Cousin JR. So you just got to read in between the lines of what's being asked. And I saw Liquid during that Sam Pittman clip. He was asking, how will the revenue sharing change all this? It's going to allow people that quite frankly don't have the money, like perhaps a Kentucky, like a Mississippi State, like an Arkansas. And he said they got money, right? But they don't have $20 million to spend. With a revenue share, potentially they will. But that's also going to jack up the prices, right? Because now the players know, hey, there's a $20 million distribution, so to speak, and they got to spend that on somebody. So if you were paying me $200,000, well, now I want $800,000. That's going to happen too. So players are going to get paid more, and it's wild out there. It's absolutely wild. But again, it's a system we have. And that's why I think on Saturdays we're getting all these insane results, because we don't have the elite depth. If we're Alabama, if we're Georgia, we just don't have it anymore because we can't spread it out quite like that. And one other Sam Pittman clip I thought was really good. He was asked, how big of a surprise have all these guys that been going into the portal? Here's his response to that.
Come about.
Oh, there's been, I hate to talk specific kids, Andrew, and I appreciate the question. Yes, there's been several surprises. And then what you got to do is you got to figure out, is he, what's happening right now is the agents are just making random calls to schools saying, if Joey gets into the portal, how much would you pay him? And, what happens then, the agent gets back to the kid and says, hey, so-and-so will offer you X amount of dollars. And then the young man obviously wants to make money, and that's wonderful. That's what the portal's for. Then he comes in and says, hey, coach, whatever we agreed on, that's not the number. This is the number. And if you don't match it, then obviously they've already got security of another university. So I think I certainly would welcome any of those guys that did it the right way back, if that was a fallacy of their conversation with their agent. But yeah, there's been some guys that surprised me coming in saying that they're going to transfer. But most of the time it's about finances, and we have to make a decision on what we're willing to do coming off a 6-6 team.
Stingray says Cousin Shane is in the portal. He is committed to Harrah's Casino. Not a sponsor, not yet, but that's where he's at. So if you're in the area, go check out Harrah's. Maybe you'll run into Cousin Shane there. He's probably at the tables right now, if I had to guess. But yeah, wild times, absolutely wild times. I worked up this little graphic too. A couple of guys. I don't know how many of these we've hit, but these are the guys out of the SEC that have declared for the NFL draft as early. That is Kentucky defensive lineman Deion Walker. LSU's been hit pretty hard. Left tackle Will Campbell, right tackle Emory Jones announced today, and Mason Taylor, the outstanding tight end. Thankfully, we don't have to hear about his dad anymore. A Missouri receiver, Luther Burden, right tackle Armand Membu, and A&M had two defensive linemen, Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton, have all declared. And I believe players have until mid-January to declare. So we'll have a lot more of these to come, but these are the only SEC players that have declared early for the NFL draft, to my knowledge, up to this point. But how about LSU, though? It's not just Taylor Green. It's Garrett Nussmeier coming back for another season. Brian Kelly better be thanking his lucky stars. I don't know what they had to pay him. He's probably another one of these that had to commanded a high dollar. And they had, whatever his figure is, they had to pay it. They had to. After losing Bryce Underwood, the 5-star, after the way the season ended, LSU I think they'd be in deep, deep shit if they didn't have Garrett Nussmeier back to have some form of stability there. We'll see if there's any coaching changes. It doesn't look like we may, but without him, I don't know if LSU would have a shot. I mean, they would obviously have to bring in someone to the portal, and that's always a gamble. Could be the next Florida State if they're not careful. So that's the world we're living in. Florida State could go undefeated to, what'd they go, 2-9, 2-10, whatever. That's probably going to happen. I bet you there's teams in this landscape, if things don't change, well, one year we'll have an SEC team in the playoff, and then the next year, like 4-8. We haven't had that yet, but I bet you we will at some point in time. Just something to think about. All right, how about I promise 2025 schedule reactions. So I got these all cleaned up, got them all prettied up. These are legit now. The dates are right. The dates are right. The teams are right. All of it's correct. So I didn't have time on the last episode. I was making these. I didn't even hear anything Cousin Shane said. I'm sure it was brilliant information, but I just didn't have time to process any of it. So I'm going to give you at least one or two things on every SEC schedule. And I think Alabama next year, let's break it down. At Florida State, ULM and Wisconsin at home, at Georgia, Vanderbilt at home, at Mizzou, Tennessee at home, at South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and I don't even know who those Blue Panthers are, but they're not going to put up a fight. And then at Auburn. I think Alabama potentially is going to have go on the road to two teams that may very well make the college football playoff. And I'm looking at Georgia, and I'm looking at South Carolina or Auburn. I think one of those teams will be in it by season's end to make the college football playoff. So this is not an easy schedule by any means. And I think that first game is really tricky because we're all looking at it and say, oh, Alabama's going to whoop the hell out of Florida State, right? It's at Florida State. I think that'll be an opportunity for Florida State to prove the haters wrong, that it was a 1 year. Now, I'm not saying it, but I don't believe that Florida State will necessarily come back. But when you have all off season to work towards that game, what better way to prove this year that we're currently in was a fluke than to beat Alabama right out the gate? You got Gus Malzahn now. So add that little intrigue into that matchup. Gus Malzahn, he's no stranger to Alabama, of course. So I don't know. I think that's a little tricky, easy one right there. I really do. All right. How about Arkansas? Here's their schedule: Alabama A&M, Arkansas State. That Arkansas State's in Little Rock. At Ole Miss, at Memphis, Notre Dame at home, at Tennessee, Texas A&M, Auburn, and Mississippi State all at home. That's a nice little home stretch. At LSU, at Texas, and then closing at home against Missouri. Thing that stands out to me, man, September 13th to October 18th, at Ole Miss, at Memphis, Notre Dame, at Tennessee, Texas A&M. That's probably the toughest 5-game stretch in the entire country. I don't know what Sam Pittman did to deserve his damn gauntlet. Quite frankly, they have a gauntlet every year, but thankfully we get the A&M game. That's back at home, and we get it away from Arlington. It's a damn house of horrors for us. So maybe this will be the time that we turn the tide in that annual series. But this is going to be tough. This is going to be very, very tough, as it always is for Arkansas. I'll be rooting for you. But right now, it looks like the reactions I'm seeing online, people will be surprised if they win 4 games. But we got to see who they add via the transfer portal before we completely freak out. That's what I'm reserving judgment. It's looking bad. But again, we got Taylor Green to come back. That was huge. That's how we start. You know how you could start to be a great cousin this holiday season? Check out Public Rec. Come on, publicrec.com, promo code SEC. Get 20% off your full order. What is this Public Rec? Well, they got fancy clothes over there is what they got. And right now, they want us to tell you about the Daymaker pants, which is what I have on during this time of year when it gets cool out. I usually wear shorts, but these Daymakers have converted me into pants. They feel like sweatpants. They look like designer pants. Cannot be beat over at publicrec.com. Don't forget that promo code SEC for 20% off your full order. Nobody likes wearing pants, right? But these, I promise you'll like. Just ask Liquid. He bought him a pair. 10 unique colors. And one thing I really love about them, you give them specific size. So whatever your waist is, whatever your length is, you let them know. They make them custom order over at publicrec.com/SEC. All right, how about Auburn? I've been trolling. I think Auburn could be damn good next year. I really do. Hugh Freeze, if we can work around Hugh Freeze's coaching. But, I mean, I don't think it's absurd to say they can win 9-10 games. Here's Auburn's schedule. At Baylor, opening weekend. That'll be tricky. And then we got Ball State and South Alabama at home. We got at Oklahoma, at A&M, Georgia at home, Mizzou at home, at Arkansas, at Kentucky at home, at Vanderbilt, Mercer at home, Alabama at home. I'm I mean, who are they losing to? Georgia and Alabama, maybe. But whenever Auburn gets these two at home, those are the magical years that come together. Freaky things happen. They could beat anybody in that top first month. They should be 4-0. We'll get to Oklahoma here in a little bit. But and then the back half, I mean, they look all winnable. Maybe you could say with the exception of Alabama, but I think realistically are going to be on a 3, 4, maybe even a 5-game winning streak heading into the Iron Bowl. You could be one of the hottest teams in the country. Do not be surprised if Auburn wins 9 or 10 games next season. And cousin Sal here, he's got the $1 million question. Curious who will be Auburn's quarterback next year. They seem like one of the hottest teams in the portal. They're hosting damn near everybody they can get their hands on. And Hugh Freeze said he ain't paid $1 million. Well, that comment blew up in his face, and now he's probably going to have to pay 3 times that. So we'll see, but they're going to get somebody, and probably multiple somebodies, because if Hugh Freeze doesn't get it done next year, his ass is gone. So they're going to pay what it costs to get a quarterback, but it's on Hugh to get the right one and develop them. I don't have full confidence in that, but the team around him should be pretty good. All right, how about Florida? Let the Florida hype begin. Long Island, never even heard of them, but that's who you open with. Long Island at home, South Florida at home, at LSU, at Miami, Texas at home, at Texas A&M, Mississippi State at home, Georgia in Jacksonville, of course, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, Tennessee at home, Florida State at home. So much hype with these Florida Gators. The only thing that's going to derail them is this damn schedule. I mean, this schedule's tough. And we knew it would be, flip-flopped and all that. But getting Tennessee late is very interesting. But 2 of the first 3 SEC games on the road at LSU, at A&M, those are 2 of the toughest places in this conference to play. This is going to be tricky here. We don't know. We have no clue how good Miami's going to be. They'll probably come back down to earth. I don't think that'll be truly that difficult of a game. But Texas, regardless of where you're playing them, they're going to be tough. So, I mean, I'll be hyping up Florida all off season. Hyped them up this off season, and it took 2 months, but they finally lived up to it. But there's a world where we are a top, let's say, 15 type team, and we still lose our first 3 SEC games because of how damn difficult this schedule is. At LSU, Texas, at home, at A&M. I think A&M is going to be really good. I think Texas, obviously, is going to be very good next year. LSU is one we got to circle. We got to win in Death Valley. If we can do that, we're going to have a hell of a season. I really do think. But that's easier said than done. So the only thing that could possibly derail us is the schedule. And we said the same thing this year, and they overcame it to an extent, winning 7 games. So they should be better. But what is better? What is the standard at Florida? I mean, technically, if you go 8-4, you're better, right? But 8-4 used to get Florida coaches fired. I don't know. That's interesting. They're in a tough spot because I think we all believe they're going to be better. But will it show on the record? That's the $1 million question. How about Georgia? Only 3 true road games. Kirby can't be calling out Greg Sankey anymore based on this schedule. Marshall at home. The Austin Peay at home. At Tennessee. Alabama at home. You got 2 weeks to prepare for that Alabama game, by the way. Kentucky at home. At Auburn. Ole Miss at home. Florida in Jacksonville. At Mississippi State. Texas at home. Charlotte at home. And Georgia Tech in Atlanta. They're playing that in Mercedes-Benz. 8 consecutive SEC games. Good Lord. That's tough. Wait, maybe Kirby does have something to bitch about because the first 2 and the last 2 are gimmies. And then you got 8 landmines standing in your way there. That Texas game being very late in the season is interesting. Tennessee and Alabama back-to-back. I know there's a bye there, but that is that's tough because I think both teams will be top 15-ish type. I don't know that anybody's going to have a better or more difficult back-to-back SEC games next season at Tennessee and Alabama at home. So it's tough. But Georgia has proven time and time again they can overcome it. Just get to 10 wins with that schedule. You're going to the playoff, I think. All right, how about... Oh, man. These poor bastards. How about Kentucky? Kentucky. Man, this was the year. This was the year for Kentucky to make some noise. They didn't do it. Now you got Toledo at home, Ole Miss at home, Eastern Michigan at home. Then you go at South Carolina, at Georgia, Texas at home, Tennessee at home, at Auburn, Florida at home, Tennessee Tech at home, at Vanderbilt, and at Louisville. Boy. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Kentucky, but this feels like a 2-7 start right out the gate. I mean, who are they beating? At South Carolina? I don't think so. At Georgia? Hell no. Texas and Tennessee at home? Nope. Maybe they can beat Auburn, but it is at Auburn. And then Florida. I mean, good God. Ooh, buddy. I mean, they may be lucky to win 3 games next year. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything nice to say, but it is what it is. You know, you beat Vanderbilt, you beat Louisville. Maybe you can get to 4, but maybe they clean up in the portal. You know, maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. All right. How about LSU? Good thing Brian Kelly always wins his first game at Clemson. This is not a neutral site. It's at Clemson. Then we got Louisiana Tech at home, Florida at home. The Lions. I don't even know who that. I think that's Southeast Louisiana at home. At Ole Miss, South Carolina at home, at Vanderbilt, Texas A&M at home, at Alabama, Arkansas at home, Western Kentucky at home, and at Oklahoma. Buddy, if you think that Brian Kelly was on the hot seat right now, which he probably is, this first month of next season is going to define his career. You better hope he beats Clemson. First time he would win a week 1 game as LSU coach. Then to turn around and lose to Florida at home and then at Ole Miss, I mean, buddy. If they go 3-2, let's say conservatively, let's say they go 3-2 in the first 5, I don't even know if he survives because he's got South Carolina coming up. He's got Texas A&M coming up. At least they're at home, and then he's got at Alabama. I mean, remember what they said coming into this season? Will Campbell, we have erased it from our memory, but they said coaches here get fired for 10-win seasons. What about if he goes 2 years in a row without winning 10? What happens? Nothing? I don't know. Very, very difficult schedule right out the gate for LSU. That's tricky. How about Ole Miss here? Ole Miss, God, why do we keep scheduling Georgia State? I'll never know. But that's what they did week 1. Prayers up. Totally rebuilt roster. Georgia State is asking for trouble. Then you're at Kentucky, Arkansas and Tulane at home, LSU at home, Washington State at home. Nice home stretch there for the Rebels. At Georgia, at Oklahoma, South Carolina at home, Charleston, I think that is, at home, and then Florida at home and at Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. Buddy, this is night and day different from last year to where we had 4 cream puffs right out the gate. This is 4 landmines right out the gate. John Summerall got that Tulane team playing really well. That's not going to be a gimme. Tulane almost knocked off Ole Miss a couple years ago. And playing at Kentucky. Revenge game. Got to get that one. Arkansas, that's always a tricky back and forth type game. I know you destroyed them last year. But the bye weeks really suck too. The first 5, and then you get a bye for Washington State. Who in the hell needs a bye for that? And then your next and other buys after Florida before the Egg Bowl. This is the worst buy schedule in the SEC. So, and again, we look at this on paper and we say, well, Ole Miss will kill Georgia State, Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, all this. But you got to keep in mind, Ole Miss is going to sign some really good players. I think they're going to have a great roster, but it's going to be a work in progress, I would think, right out the gate. So how do you lose? You lose by playing your C game at Kentucky. You lose by playing your C game to Arkansas or Tulane. So this is not going to be a given. Now, they should be favored in all these games, but if you lose one of these, season could go sideways in a hurry. I really do think. So this is a lot trickier than last year's schedule for Ole Miss. I really do think. How about Mississippi State? Southern Miss on the road. Why are we going on the road? That's got to change. We're SEC. We can't be doing shit like that. Arizona State at home. Alcorn at home. NIU, which beat Notre Dame this year, at home. Tennessee at home. At A&M. At Florida. Texas at home. At Arkansas. Georgia at home. At Mizzou. And then the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss at home. Here's the good news. You can get some momentum early. Big time momentum. Before 8 consecutive SEC games. And I hate to be this cruel, but I don't think a single one of these SEC games is winnable at home. Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, and Ole Miss. So if you drop all your SEC home games, we got to win a couple on the road. And how likely is that? I mean, you can win one or two of them, but this is tough. This is a tough one for Mississippi State. So we got to get off this schedule. for it was rough this year for Mississippi State. Could be even rougher next year, particularly if they bring back their defensive staff. Like apparently that's the plan right now. How about Mizzou? I think this is the best schedule. Once again, in the SEC, Mizzou's got the Purple Bears. I don't know who that is. Central Arkansas, I think. Kansas at home. Raging Cajuns, Louisiana at home. South Carolina at home. Alabama at home. And UMass. UMass is joining the SEC. I think they're setting us up for it. All these SEC games UMass has been playing. But 6 straight home games to open the season. This is great. This is perfect. Just like last year. Set up for success. Maybe this year we overachieve because we got, a new roster, but this schedule sets up so well for us to have success. Then we go at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, both winnable. A&M at home, Mississippi State at home, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas, who we own Arkansas. Buddy, I don't think that Missouri's a playoff team next year. We'll see who they add via the portal and all that, but this is a playoff schedule. I mean, how is this any different than some of these other schedules that teams were gifted that are in the playoff this year? I think Missouri can do some damage with this schedule. I mean, I'm talking 8, 9, maybe even 10 wins with this thing. They could be favored in a ton of these games. So I'd like to know who Eli's paying off up there in the SEC office. Whoever he is, keep doing it. Because I think you're going to have one hell of a season. All right, how about South Carolina? Virginia Tech in Atlanta. Beamer Bowl up there. We got South Carolina State at home. Vanderbilt at home. At Mizzou. Kentucky at home. At LSU. Oklahoma at home. Alabama at home. Ole Miss on the road, A&M on the road, Coastal Carolina, I believe that is, at home, and then Clemson at home. And not bad. Not bad for South Carolina. I like this. I think at LSU could define your season, much like it did for Ole Miss this year. If you can get that win, if you're South Carolina, buddy, we might be undefeated in that game. Imagine Carolina going 7-0, or that'd be 6-0 heading into Oklahoma. It could happen. And the other 2-game stretch that'll define us, just like it did this year. Unfortunately, they went the other way. Can we flip it back? Alabama at home and at Ole Miss back-to-back weeks. No bye there. We lost them both. If we just win one, if we win one of those, here's my prediction. If South Carolina beats LSU at LSU and wins one of Alabama at Ole Miss, I think South Carolina's going to the playoff. How about that? That's my prediction. Speaking of playoff, oh, buddy. Tennessee may be going back-to-back to playoff here. They got a gift here, too. And it almost spells SEC right there. I don't know if you noticed. But they get Syracuse right out the gate in Atlanta. Be better if that was a home game. But it's in Atlanta. Eastern Tennessee, ETSU week 2. Georgia at home. It's so weird to see Georgia this early in the schedule. UAB at home. At Mississippi State. Arkansas at home. Revenge game. At Kentucky. At Alabama. At Kentucky. Oklahoma at home. New Mexico State at home. At Florida. And Vanderbilt at home. I mean, this looks like it's another 10-2, 11-1 type season. And here's another bold prediction. If they beat Georgia, which they can't do. Georgia's beaten them, I think, 8 in a row. Georgia owns Tennessee. Big if here, if Tennessee beats Georgia, they're going undefeated. I would be scared of Alabama. I think Alabama's done. Their time has come and gone with old DeBoring there. So, again, and I don't think they will, but if they can beat Georgia, Tennessee's going back to the playoff. How about Texas? At Ohio State? What a damn game right out the gate. Credit. Texas got some balls, man. They'll play anybody, anywhere. I love it. San Jose State at home. UTEP at home. Sam Houston, is that what that is? At home. SH. I think it's Sam Houston State. At Florida. Oklahoma and Dallas. Kentucky. On the road. State. Mississippi State at home. On the road. Vanderbilt at home. At Georgia. Arkansas at home. And A&M at home. Another good one for Texas. Arch Manning, first career start. On the road at Ohio State. Good Lord. They're going to hype that game up. Something insane for that one. Will Ryan Day even be the coach there? Who knows? Probably not. But that's going to be wild. 8 consecutive SEC games for Texas. They're another one that I believe that's only the third one. Who is it? Mississippi State, Georgia, and Texas, I believe, are the only 3 that go 8 consecutive SEC games. And no home games for Texas between September 28th and October 31. So that's difficult. This is much more difficult than last year's schedule, but still very, very winnable. And I just realized I skipped over, Oklahoma. Oh, man. What a damn gauntlet this is. What a gauntlet here for Oklahoma. Shane's right. I think this may be the toughest one of all. Illinois State at home, Michigan at home. I think Michigan's still going to suck, so don't be fooled by that. That's not going to be tricky. But why are we going at Temple? We're in the SEC now, Oklahoma. We don't have to do at Temple anymore. We got Auburn at home, Kent State at home. But then here's where it gets brutal. Texas in Dallas, of course, at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri at home, and LSU at home. I'm not sure Oklahoma's going to be favored in a single game after Kent State. So 7 in a row. That doesn't mean they're going to lose them all, but I think they're going to be underdog in all 7 of the final games of the season. Good God. Now, again, they were underdog against Alabama. They whooped Alabama's ass. So, I don't know. I think the schedule, let's say Brent Venables is a good coach. I think he can still get fired because of this. I mean, they need their offense to be flying high by Texas. And will it? I don't know. It's going to be tough. I think they're in for another rough year. Now, we'll see. They may add a ton of guys in the portal. They may get that Mateer from Washington State. Maybe the offense is top 25 next year. If it is, they're going to beat a hell of a lot of these teams. How about A&M? UTSA at home. Utah State at home. At Notre Dame. Auburn at home. Mississippi State at home. Florida at home. I like that stretch. All at home. At Arkansas. At LSU. At Mizzou. Don't like that stretch. Then you get South Carolina at home. Samford at home. And at Texas. Buddy. We wasted this year's schedule going 8-4. We had all our key games at home. Now, most of them, if not all of them, are going to be on the road, except for, of course, South Carolina and Florida. Florida's both of those teams. At least you're catching them at home. That's your opportunity to really see some momentum. But you got to win some of these road games at Notre Dame, at LSU, at Texas. Ooh, buddy. A&M's going to have their hands full next year. This is a difficult one. But they should be favored, I think, in every home game. And that includes Florida and South Carolina. Maybe not by a wide margin, but I think they will be favored in every home game. I really do. How about Vanderbilt playing the Charleston Southern, I think it is, the Bucks? At Virginia Tech, at South Carolina, Georgia State at home, Utah State at home, at Alabama, LSU and Missouri back-to-back at home, at Texas, Auburn and Kentucky back-to-back at home, and at Tennessee. Buddy, I hope we enjoyed winning this year because I don't know how many we're going to win on this one, especially if Diego Pavia ain't there to bail us out. But, I mean, from October 4th to November 8th, I don't know if there's a win in there for Vanderbilt. So that means you got to win around it. You got to have 4 wins before that. You got to beat Kentucky. And you got to go to Neyland Stadium with your bowl hopes on the line, I feel like. That's what it's going to be. All right, so let's see if I missed any. Yep, I think I did. Missed some supers here. Gage, appreciate you, brother. $5. Kirby thought Sankey screwed him this year. Sankey said, hold my beer. Look at 2025. And Daryl Witt, welcome to the family. So I'm running out of steam here. These are never as much fun without Cousin Shane or a guest. So I think that's about all we got on this episode. As always, don't forget, hey, also sponsored by BetterHelp. This show's sponsored by BetterHelp. You need some extra help this holiday season? No shame in it. Head on over to BetterHelp.com, promo code SEC. Get 10% off your first month of online therapy. It's real easy. Just take a quick questionnaire, then they will match you with a licensed therapist. And if you don't like them, you can switch at no additional charge over at BetterHelp.com. Promo code SEC, 10% off your first month. Maybe gift it to somebody in need. I think Cousin Shane may need it after he leaves Harrah's Casino here. But any question? Maybe hit me up with some questions here before I jump off, because I like answering questions here. Trying to see, dog. Here's one. Maybe Venables is a better coordinator than a head coach. I certainly think that is a possibility. That damn defense was fantastic, and he has been one of the, if not the best defensive coordinator in college football in recent years. There's no shame in that. How about this one from Jamie? Appreciate you, Jamie. Hey, Mike, do you think South Carolina should have been in this year over SMU, Bama, and Ole Miss? Hell yeah, I do. I think so. It's certainly over Alabama. I know those two played and Alabama won, but it was at Alabama, and I think South Carolina only had 2 losses this year. I think they got damn robbed. So if they were 10-2, they'd be in. Johnny says, Mike, how long before a player makes more than a coach? It'll probably be a while, because these coaches, They're overpaid. They get paid way too much. So until a player makes $10 million a year, I don't think it's going to happen. Pamela, appreciate you. What do you think about South Carolina promoting Mike Shula? Love it. Love it. He's been a head coach in the NFL, I believe. Obviously here in the SEC at Alabama. Didn't work out at Alabama, but that was so long ago. And from the way I understand it, he's paramount in helping to develop Lenora Sellers. So you're keeping that continuity. You're keeping a coach that Sellers is comfortable with. And hey, make no mistake, there was a lot of rumors about Sellers. I don't think for a second he thought about leaving South Carolina, but Auburn and others were trying to get him to jump in the portal and come to their schools for mega bucks. So the fact that he's staying there, I think that should give you an indication that he's comfortable and he trusts Mike Shula to develop him. I think that's huge. And quite frankly, I think South Carolina may have upgraded with Dow Loggins leaving. And Dow may have left because they didn't want to lose Shula. I don't think that's a stretch to say. So, how long before North Carolina makes the playoffs? It's going to be a while. I don't think they'll ever do it. Of course, I don't want to sell Belichick short. That's pretty fascinating. And I think the most interesting SEC aspect of that, what will that do to South Carolina and Tennessee and some others that like to recruit North Carolina? How will that affect them? And quite frankly, I don't think it will, because I think Belichick obviously is going to, he said it, he's going to run like an NFL franchise, and high school recruiting I do not think will be a priority for the Tar Heels. I think they're going to go the Dion approach and add up tons and tons of transfers to be relevant. And Belichick's done that in the NFL too. His first Super Bowl title was largely free agents that they added. So I think North Carolina is going to go that way. May even help Tennessee and South Carolina who recruit North Carolina, because they'll have those high school relationships still going. JC, thoughts on Dan Mullen going to UNLV? I love it. I think Dan Mullen's a hell of a coach. I know there was some, like Oklahoma, I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Some of their reporters, and I got great respect for them, but they thought Dan Mullen was going to possibly go be offense. No shot in hell. No shot in hell. He's head coach. I think he's an outstanding head coach. I know things didn't go well for him at the end of Florida. He checked out. He tried to get an NFL job, but he had Florida rolling for a time there. And I think he's the best head coach in Mississippi State history. So Dan Mullen's awesome. That's a good hire for UNLV. Let's see. Anything else? But it is going to be fun to see if Belichick brings his girlfriend. I am curious to see about that. Bill should have went to Kentucky or Auburn, says Brodo. Maybe, but I think it's easier at North Carolina to climb up the ACC ladder, whereas Kentucky or Auburn, I've said it before, I think Hugh Freeze screwed up. He should have stayed at Liberty. And that may sound damn crazy, but what do you got to do at Liberty? You got to beat these schools that are not as committed, that are not as good, and you have a talent advantage. I mean, Auburn could have the best roster in the SEC next year. I realize they're not going to, but let's just say they could, like Alabama this year. And it's not good enough to get out of the gauntlet. I don't think Hugh Freeze will ever make the playoff at Auburn. I think he'll be fired probably in about a year. But I think had he stayed at Liberty, I think he would have had a really good shot every year to be the best G5 team to make the playoff. Now, he never would have won the national championship, and I think he could at Auburn, because it's all about talent. He'll get talent there. But Cockadoo, how about this Cockaboose conductor? What a question to go out on. Whose girlfriend is younger, Belichick or Kiffin's? Bad news. If you hadn't heard, Kiffin's girlfriend broke up with him. So he's single. So the answer is Belichick. And apparently Kiffin's girlfriend broke up with him right before LSU game. And he was very distracted, I'm told. I'm just saying. Just telling you guys what I hear. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the show. Again, hey, I know it's going to be weird, it's going to be unusual, but we will have, hopefully, as long as they show up, an episode tomorrow morning around 11:30 Eastern, 10:30 Central. Pretty bad. It took me a while to figure that out. But tomorrow morning, live episode. Come check it out. If you can't, just show up like you're this normal time. It'll still be there on the YouTube. So should be a really fun show tomorrow. Check that out. I also have another interview scheduled. So we got tons of content. Cousin Shane's going on vacation. I work harder than ever to make up for that. But do appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with me. And that's going to do it. I'm about out of words, as Cousin Shane would say. We'll catch you on the next one.
Hey, buddy, this beer's for you, Mike, and Cousin Shane. That SEC podcast loves the Pirate, and the Pirate loves that SEC podcast.